In this video, we'll learn how to add details to our book before uploading it to Amazon Kindle. What we'll do is open up our EasyWriter Pro publishing software and load our project so that we can then pick our book. Once the project's open, we're ready to go. Select the book and go to Submit. When you click on the Submit, we have a list of the books. The one that we're going to work with is right there, so we're going to add it by clicking on the Add. Now we see the main screen.
That's a lot of fields. Don't be intimidated by the amount we have to fill in here. We'll go through each field and discuss how to enter the information for that field. I know there are a lot of fields packed in one panel, but this way you can see all of your information at the same time without having to switch between screens or tabs. Once you have entered all this information, you'll be able to complete what you need to do to submit your book. You'll also see that after you've done this once, it should be easy the next time you go to fill this information in. You might want to try this with a sample book before you do your own book.
The book location should be filled in. If it's not filled in, you want to go use the Browse button here and go find your .doc file so that you can then load that into the software. Now we want to decide whether we want to join the Kindle Direct Publishing Select. Let's go ahead and leave here and go into Google and let's find the KDP Select information, because this will help us to understand whether we want to do this or not. I do suggest we do this. Go ahead and look that up. Here is some information on it. If you choose this, you'll make a book exclusive to the Kindle store for 90 days. Your book is eligible to be included in the Kindle owner's lending library, and you can earn a share of the fund based on how frequently others borrow your book. Amazon sets aside funds for this lending on a monthly basis. You also get access to a new set of promotional tools, including Kindle Countdown deals, a limited time promotional discount for your book, and free book promotions. Readers worldwide can get your book for free for limited time. When you enroll, Kindle can add your book to the Kindle owner's library, and your book can be lent out just like a physical book at your local library. The fund, for example, was $1.2 million in April of 2014. Think of it. You could lend your book worldwide and get a lot of new readers. More about that later. Right now, let's talk about how your income is calculated. For each given month, let's say the amount of the fund is $1 million. Let's say the number of qualifying books in the library is 300,000. If your book is borrowed for the first time, say by 1,500 different users, you can earn 0.5%. 1,500 divided by 300,000 gives us a rate of 0.5%, which translates into $5,000 for the month. Note that only the first time the book is borrowed by a user counts, even though the book may be borrowed by a user more than once. There's much more information on the Kindle Owner's Lending Library FAQ page, so if you need to, Google that and look that up. I recommend that you do enroll in the Kindle Select program. The second reason to join it is to promote your book for free. You can do this 5 days in that 90-day period. You can give it away 5 different days throughout that period or on consecutive days. When you give it away for free, you get more exposure and it may be lent more. After the free period or periods, your sales may pick up because people who got the book may want to tell other people about it. This is one way to increase your exposure. It's also a good idea to make it free once it's published. Another possible advantage is that if you give your book away for free and you have other books, readers of your free book may go and purchase your other books. So there are a lot of advantages to giving your book away. I suggest you go ahead and click KDP Select. The next field is your book name. This is an important area because this lets people find your book, and a good book name sometimes will attract a number of readers. It's very important. Under the book as a part of a series, if you have a series, you'll want to put the name of the series in there and then put the number of the series or the series volumes 1, 2, 3, etc. The edition number lets your reader and purchaser know whether this is the first publication or a revised edition. If this is the first time you're publishing, set this to 1. If you have significant changes and you're going to republish the next version of the book, go to 2. Next, we go to the description. Description is extremely important. This is a significant part of your marketing. This can attract readers to your books. A compelling description can lead to somebody borrowing your book or buying your book. Think about what would entice your ideal reader. Now, I've gone and grabbed this off of a notepad version that I have, and it came in a little funky, so I've had to fix it up. It is important that this looks good, so make sure that it's formatted correctly when you get in here and put your description in here. I can't tell you how important this description is. Spend some time on this so that this is something that will attract readers to your book. Now, the next field is publisher, and here you want to put your name as an author or your pen name, or maybe the company, or you might want to create a name for your publishing company for your books. Whatever it is, go ahead and put that in, and we'll move on to the next piece, which is the ISBN. ISBN is the International Standards Book Number. You can publish with one of these by going to their main site and getting one, or you can leave it blank. In most cases, you don't need it for an ebook. Next, we go to categories. You want to select categories that describe the contents of your book. Again, this is a very important marketing decision, so think about this and do research on it as well. It's very important to select the right categories. Find the ones that closely match your book. Categories help you market your book better. When a reader is looking for a book, he or she will sometimes browse by category. If you're in the right category, this can lead to more sales and a bigger response to your book. You can select up to 2 categories. If you're unsure, again, I suggest you do research. Go to Amazon and look at categories of books that are like yours and see where they're listed. There are a lot of categories. The first one that I need to look at is in business and economics, with a subcategory of advertising and promotion. I needed to do some research to find out what the other categories might be. After looking at other books that were like mine, I found that a lot of those kinds of things ended up in the category of computers, and I searched some subcategories there. I had to spend some time finding exactly the right fit for my book. So I go down and find computers, and then under computers there's a lot of subcategories. I'm going to look for one that says web, and under web there's another subcategory of that called podcasts and webcasts. So that's the other one I want there. Now let's visit the keyword field. Amazon has recently stopped publishing keywords for books. However, we may still find this, so I think it's a good idea to fill it in. Plus, you can always use keywords when you're doing other publicity for your book. What's important here is to find words that people look for when they're researching for your book. So let's go to Amazon and see which books are there. Now, we want to get it a little more specific, so let's use the advanced search, and here we can put in the name of the topic that I'm working with, the Google Hangouts, and we can go down here and we can pick bestsellers. So this gives us the top sellers. Now, what we want to do is look at books here. Let's see that one. Nah, I don't like that one. That one doesn't look that good. Let's look at the third one. Something about Celebrity Hangout on Air. That might be good. Let's look at that. Let's then go in and look at the description and see what kind of phrases we can find in here that might be of use to us later. How about increased exposure and more authority and credibility in business? So there we've gotten 3 really good keywords. Whether we use them in this package or not is not that important, because as we move on, we will use those in other places to help bring people to our book. Now let's talk about the cover. Cover is really important. Despite what they say, people do judge a book by the cover. Now the cover has to have a minimum height of 1,000 pixels, and it's recommended that it's 625 wide by that 1,000 pixel height. That's a 1:6 ratio, which is the golden triangle, which is pleasing to the eye. The preferred size is 1,562 pixels wide by 2,500 pixels high. So that's what we're going to need to do. Let's go take a look in Photoshop and see what we can find there so that we can see what that means. So I'm just going to create a canvas that is that size. It's going to be the minimum size of 625 by 1,000. So 625 wide by 1,000 high. And there we go, okay. And that's the size of your book cover. So that helps us to get an idea of what we're going to build in terms of a book cover. Now there's a number of different ways to build your book cover. And you could go get a design from a place like Fiverr or Odesk.com. You can Google those to find them. If you want to do it yourself though, you could build your own cover from scratch if you have the artistic ability to do that. Or there's some other ways. There is a site called Graphic River, and I'll go over there. We'll Google that, Graphic River, and here we can find some templates as well. Now, this site is kind of cool because these are pretty inexpensive covers. And I'll just type in what we want. We want an ebook cover here, so there we go. And let's see what they have here. Wow, now there's one for $4, and that would be a great cover for me because I'm going to be doing Google Hangouts, and I could put my picture on stage. We can see there are a number of options. However you decide to create your cover, be sure that it's an appealing cover, again, for the marketing purposes, that the book will then attract attention of people who might want to read what you've written. When you finish your cover, what you'll want to do is browse for it and select your file. After that, you want to go ahead and embed it with the rest of the book. And that's all there is for the cover. The next thing we're going to talk about is the territories. I'm going to leave worldwide selected, but you might want to limit your distribution to a limited number of countries. If I were writing a book specifically for Americans, I might use the option so that only people in the US could buy it. Let's discuss royalties. You have an option of 70% or 35%. Why not pick 70%? Well, there are restrictions on the 70%, and if they're not met, it'll default to 35% anyway. Most people pick 35%. Briefly, if you want to sell a book for under $2.99 or over $10, it will have to go into the 35% category. There are also some pricing tables to get information on how this is calculated, and more requirements on what's involved if you're going to have a 70% book. Check the KDP Select FAQs for that. Next, we're going to go ahead and enter our price. Many books are sold for 99 cents, but it depends on your book. There's no magic formula to determine price, so you want to test it. We next fill in the contributors box. Here it's pretty simple. We go here and select which kind of contributor we want. So let's put the author in first. And what we do is we select author, and then we're going to put the first name and the last name. Oops, got to put both names in there. So let's put the first name here and the last name here. Good, and click OK. We can add other kinds of options too, including editor, foreword, illustrator, introduction, narrator, photographer, preface, and translator. So next I'll select the language, And I'm going to use English for the language since it's written in English. And that really kind of makes sense. And then we'll talk about the publishing date because we have that down here. And we can set the publishing date for any time that we want in the past or for today. Under publishing rights, you have the choice of either public domain, which means no one owns it, or I own the necessary rights. If you wrote the book, you want to click on I own the necessary rights. Now the next thing we're going to do is look at allow lending right below there. And I suggest doing lending because people who buy the book have 14 days to lend it to their friends. This is important to increase your exposure. Also, your marketing links and your network of books. Here's an example. Joan buys your book and lends it to John, who doesn't even read your book. But it goes to the end and he sees a link in there to another one of your books that interests him, and he might buy that one. The final field is digital rights management. You can click this on or off. This option prevents people from illegally distributing your book. But I think, as crazy as it sounds, you ought to let people do that. Because the more people get your hands on your product, the more branding exposure you get, the more money you ultimately make. Now all you need to do is click on the OK and you're ready. When you click on Start, it starts the process of the automatic submission of your book. Now you can see how easy it is to build the book and add the details if we take it one step at a time. You now know how to do this. You have no excuse for not publishing your book. No excuse for not being able to get your book into Kindle. No more questions like, how do I format it? How do I get the chapters right? How do I get it to look right? How do I list it? This software takes care of all that. Okay, we're now finished with this video, and you're now an expert in being able to put your book details together. We'll see you in the next video where we go through the submitting process itself.